But now those are both our two teams that we think are trending upward. Let's now go on to the two teams that we think are trending downward. Jacob, you want to start again?
I do. I want to start with the fact that Lonnie Walker is 22. So that is my mistake.
I
But I
I
think that
knew I
just
was
builds.
right. I knew I was
I think
right.
that just builds my argument even more.
Okay.
So the first team that I've got trending downward, for me, is the Houston Rockets, who currently sit at 11 and 14.
Okay.
I think this was a team that going into this season, I know they ended up losing James Harden, but for a while they had James Harden, and they dealt away Russell Westbrook. But this team, I think, was supposed to contend. I mean, they brought in Victor Oladipo. They started with John Wall at the beginning of the season. They've got DeMarcus Cousins, which I think a lot of people forget. And even with DeMarcus Cousins, I think they're still hooked on the small ball idea. PJ Tucker is getting a lot of minutes as a starting center. And he really shouldn't, especially with DeMarcus Cousins, who is a actual true center, who's just sort of riding the bench for them. And they've been on a skid. They've lost their last four. And maybe they rebound against the Knicks tonight. Who knows? But they've dropped key games to the Pelicans and the Charlotte Hornets, who have been sort of middle of the pack and should be teams that Houston should be able to handle quite easily. And they're just not. Like, I think this is a team that's supposed to get it done, and they're really just sort of middle of the pack, and they're not really showing us that they can be a superpower that they really should be. And the other team that I've got trending down is the Orlando Magic, who currently sit at 10 and 17. Orlando is interesting to me over the last couple years because they have always been a team, in my eyes, that have been sort of treading water. They haven't been rebuilding, but they haven't been contending. They don't really have a true identity outside of Nikola Vucevic. And guys like Michael Carter-Williams and Aaron Gordon, who are supposed to be key pieces, have been sort of holding them back and become liabilities. Markelle Fultz's injury is obviously not great. No one likes a torn ACL. And point guards need to step up, notably Cole Anthony. He's got some big shoes to fill as their now number 2 point guard. And they need to make a decision about their identity. Are they rebuilding, or are they going to go out and find pieces to build around Vucevic, who is 31 years old and quite frankly nearing the end of his career? Like, he's only got a couple good years left in him. And I think Orlando needs to make a decision, either rebuild, scrap the team and start fresh, or build around guys like Aaron Gordon and Nikola Vucevic and start making a push while they've got years in Nikola Vucevic.
No, yeah, I would agree with that. I also had Houston, number one team that I thought was trending downward. So I'm not going to repeat because you literally echoed everything I was going to say about them as well. Orlando's interesting though. I think they're a team. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the record is recently in recent games, but I definitely like the pieces they have. I think Aaron Gordon is never going to live up to the hype that he was. Cole Anthony, I said was the draft prospect this year that I thought was the sneakiest one to pop. Maybe not the sneakiest one, but the one that I think was not being talked about enough. And I think he's had games this year, obviously, but like you said, I think he needs to be playing. He's got to be playing to fill bigger shoes. Vucevic as well. I think you said it pretty much fine. I think he's a great. He can't be your best player. That's plain and simple. Vucevic cannot be your most consistent and best player. That's just not. It's not a recipe for success. So, I think they are probably trending downward, but also at the same time, never really had that much expectations to begin with. But if we're gonna move on to who was my second team that I thought was trending downward, that would be the Atlanta Hawks. That was my pick for trending downward. 3-7 in their last 10 games, and plain and simple, I kept hearing all preseason that this was the year that Atlanta was supposed to be the team at least that was going to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, and they are not set to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. And they got the pieces, Jacob. They have pieces. Trae Young is a great player. Capella, great player. John Collins, great. They have players. They really do. But they're just not winning games. And I'm not sure that's just, a combination of who's on the floor. Is that a coach problem? Like I'm not sure, but plain and simple, they're 3-7 in the last 10 games, and this was a team that was definitely in the running for maybe not one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, but at least a dangerous team when it came to playoff time. So they're definitely on my list of teams that are trending downward for this week.
This was a team that was supposed to make a step this year. Trae Young is a phenomenal point guard, as you mentioned. John Collins, Clint Capella are great big men pieces that you can have. Kevin Huerter, their small forward, is very talented. DeAndre Hunter is also a very talented forward. And Huerter is their small forward, but can also play shooting guard. I think has been starting shooting guard for them. This was a team that was supposed to make a step. And I think they've disappointed a lot of people. Where they're going to fall in the next couple of months, who knows? Maybe they make a turnaround and shock a lot of us and maybe live up to those expectations that they had. But yeah, to your point, they really should be in a better position and they're not. And maybe that's because, we're putting a lot of pressure on young guys. Like they don't have a true veteran presence. They had that last year when they had Vince Carter, but they don't really have that this year, and I think that's showing. Like there's no guidance on that team.
No, yeah, I would 100% agree. I agree with that take as well. Like definitely veteran leadership is just so important in today's NBA as well. But even still, like Trae Young, like we're talking about these guys being young, like LaMelo, like just look at guys like LaMelo Ball. He didn't take long to pop. Also, like guys like Donovan Mitchell, he didn't take long to pop, so maybe it's just different. But Trae Young needs to be doing more in this stage career, and I know that's saying he has great stats. I know he does, but I think he needs to take more of a leadership role. I mean, maybe that's not his personality, but they're just I agree. There is a more veteran presence, and also just leadership in general. Like this team needs, I think, a guiding force to kind of wake them up and realize like. You got pieces, but now you got to produce. So until that happens, I'm just going to be pretty disappointed in what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've checked all the boxes with this team, and I don't really think we need to touch on Houston that much as well. I think we were both going to say the same things about them.
Right. Yep.
It'll be interesting to see where all of these teams land. The one that are trending up as well as trending down. It'll be really interesting to see where they land in let's say a month from now. Let's see where they go.
How's it going, guys? And thank you so much for reaching into this video. If you're interested in more content, be sure to go subscribe, turn on push notifications, all that good stuff. Also, I'll leave links to my Instagram and Twitter up here above. And also, be sure to go follow the podcast. That is where the bulk of my content comes from. I upload to all the major podcast providers, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff. I upload to it all. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.